very crucial moment for the Asian countries.
So it was very great opportunity to share in this major political event.
All the countries, they are having these kind of platforms to help each other.
From Central Asia to Southeastern Asia in 1 year, our leaders' footprints have shown how China cherishes its neighbors and partners.
From CGTN headquarters in Beijing, this is The Hub with Wang Guan.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the program. This week, Asia has taken center stage in global diplomacy. We had the G20 Summit concluding in Bali, Indonesia on Wednesday, and on Friday, leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, are meeting in Bangkok, Thailand. How are the media looking at these engagements, especially the media outlets from the developing economies? And why is it important to have diverse perspectives? Now, journalists from 3 different countries share their thoughts and concerns with me. My guests today are Hoda El Masry, Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Rosal Youssef magazine in Egypt. Also joining us is Aamir Saeed from Radio Pakistan. They're based in Beijing, China. And we also have with us 2 Chinese journalists. Wang Cong is with the Global Times, who's covering the G20 from the front line in Bali, Indonesia. And also we have with us Li Fangfang with Beijing Review Weekly. A very warm welcome to all of you. Now, Wang Cong, let me start with you. You're in Bali, Indonesia. Tell us, what did you hear? What did you see over the years? It's quite an event.
Hi, greetings from Indonesia. Well, I will tell you, it's been exciting, but also hectic because the G20 hasn't been held in person for 2 years before. And, personally, I haven't gone out of the country to cover big events like this for 3 years. So it's quite an exciting time. So I want to make 3 observations. And the first is there's really no substitute for in-person, face-to-face interactions like these in G20 in Indonesia. That is true both for journalists and for world leaders. On Monday night, that's what President Xi and President Biden said when they meet in their high-stakes meeting. And that struck a constructive tone from that meeting set the stage for the G20 here. And I think when the world is wondering what's happening and all the thousands of words printed about the geopolitical tensions, about major power rivalry, everybody's wondering what's going to happen. And I think when people see world leaders are sitting down, talking to each other, shaking hands, I think that is exactly the scene that everybody wants to see during these times of turmoil, both in terms of diplomatic relations and a economic downturn. And that brings my second point, the Indonesia presidency and even broader, the Asian moment, as many have pointed out. The Indonesia government has done a tremendous job. What has been said to be a most difficult G20 summit now is very successful, smooth. Of course, there are a lot of divisions, tensions, and disputes. However, what I've seen over the last couple of days, I think the talks, the communications, the exchanges have been very positive. So I think it is setting a very good example for what's coming in the next few days in terms of multilateral meetings, the APEC. So Asian moment is very real, and Indonesia is setting an example. And that brings up another point that, these G20, I think if I were to make a prediction, it would be a very crucial moment for the Asian countries and a broader middle power or developing countries, their rise in global standing, because we know what's happening around the world. We've been mired in economic crisis and the geopolitical tensions. And at this moment, in this world, these countries, Indonesia and other emerging market countries, are standing up to tackle global issues. And the last is the spotlight is very, very much on China's major country diplomacy.
Egypt is a power to be
Yes.
reckoned with. It's
Yes,
such an
true.
important country in the
Yes.
Arab world. It just hosted COP27, a very important climate change event. How are you, as
Yes.
an Egyptian journalist, covering the G20 and the upcoming APEC?
We interested in political issues, so it was very great opportunity to share in this major political event in China. It's a very important, not only at the level of China, but also at the level of the whole world. How China can, in a short period, make many achievements. We have a vision to know more about this great country for me and for my colleagues also. As I said, very lucky to be a part of this event and transfer what is happening in this historical moment to our countries. It's like a dream for me.
We know that Pakistan's all-weather brother of China. We've been talking about the all-weather fraternity between China and Pakistan. But let's talk about G20 and APEC. There's so many angles to approach to cover these meetings. There's a Western angle that is focusing largely on Joe Biden and the Western leaders and the war in Ukraine. I'm wondering, what is the Pakistani angle regarding the coverage of G20 as well as APEC?
Yes, when it comes to Pakistan and when it comes to China, we have historical relations, and every time, because I'm a journalist and people in my country, they are always eager to know about the China and all the developments when it comes to the international relations, international ties, and all the developments. So definitely it is very important for Pakistan, for the people of Pakistan, about all the developments, all the meetings and the dialogues, all the happenings at the G20, because after a long time, this is the first time, and as my colleague, Mr. Wang said, that this is the first in-person interaction between the great leaders, the leaders of countries who are leading the world. This is a good sign for both of the countries that their leaders, and when it comes to the members of G20, they have their own importance, they have their own significance of their decisions and their vision for rest of the world. It is the vision for the betterment of the world, for the betterment of future. And this is the first time when President Xi is meeting with President Joe Biden after his election, when he elected as the President of the United States of America. And this is going to, at least I can say, this is the guardrail of the active diplomatic ties between China and US, and definitely all the neighboring countries, including Pakistan, and we are the all-weather friends. We are also looking keenly and observing all the developments, and definitely it is going
But
to
speaking of
affect
China-Pakistan, we understand that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif just got diagnosed positive for COVID-19 test. Do you know how is he doing? How is he recovering?
Yes, definitely. He has came back from a visit, and now he's feeling much better. Unfortunately, he got the COVID-19 infection, and now he's doing good.
Yeah, all the prayers and thoughts are with him, and hoping for a quick recovery. Fangfang, how are you? It's good to see you again. I mean, we were talking about the fact that Beijing Review magazine is not just a magazine, but a social media content creator with its subsidiary brand, the Pacific Dialogue. You guys are doing an amazing job. How are you covering the G20 and the upcoming APEC?
Thank you for inviting me to this discussion. Let me first say something about me. I come from Xinjiang and have covered the regional topics for several years.
You're
Actually,
an ethnic
it's not,
Han, right? You're ethnic Han from Xinjiang.
It's not surprising to me that President Biden raised his concern about human rights conditions in Xinjiang during his meeting with President Xi this week. Each time there is a meeting with Western leaders, they all say the same thing. It's either Xinjiang or Hong Kong or Tibet or Taiwan. I would like them to talk to me too, since I'm also from Xinjiang. I'm not a Uyghur, as you mentioned, but my grandparents are among the pioneers who went there, built roads and hospitals. You know, China is a multi-ethnic country, and in Xinjiang, you can find all the ethnic minorities of China. Why do you think of just one community when you think of place in China? And why do you ignore the others?
Wang Cong, let me turn back to you. I understand that you're flying to Thailand, Bangkok, Thailand, soon this afternoon to cover APEC. China is a key player for APEC, where President Xi is expected to lay out his vision for a community of a common destiny of a shared future for Asia Pacific. What do you think would be China's contribution to APEC this time around?
Well, I think China has been playing a greater and greater role in terms of regional and even global economic development. And that is exactly what China wants to focus and what regional countries and members of the APEC wants to focus on. G20, the APEC faces similar, some similar difficulties as the G20 does, because some of the members in the APEC also have disputes, including economic disputes. For example, the U.S. has waged a trade war, and also there are regional tensions. It is trying to, create division. However, APEC, different from G20, as the name suggests, focus really on economic issues. Its members are not countries, but economies. So there's a more focus on economic development. And I think from China's point of view, China is the largest trading partner for many of these countries. And this time around, I think there's a lot of focus on new energy, green development, and digital transformation. And I think that is what China will present to the APEC economies in the informal meeting in Thailand. And that is the future of the global and regional development too, I think.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on what's coming out of the APEC meetings between not just countries, but economies as well, as you correctly mentioned. Hoda, let me turn to you. There's has been quite some synergy between Egypt and APEC.
Yes.
Talk to us about the relations between Egypt, a very important player in North Africa, in the Arab world, and APEC.
Yes. Okay. I wanted to see that APEC Summit this year give us as a developing country a great hope and restore the confidence, and that refers that economic growth will continue after COVID-19. The importance of this summit this year is not due to the topic on its agenda as much as to what is happening on the sidelines. The Asia Pacific region, it's represented about 100% of global output, and all over the world will follow Asia wherever it goes in the future. So I think that Egypt, my country Egypt, it's important to Egypt to develop the relationship and partnership with this great economic grouping. And there is many opportunities in South Canal area to commerce, trade, investment, and the government, Egyptian government welcomes and offer many facilities in this regard.
Aamir, there are so many things that are important for Pakistan. For example, the CPEC, right? That is not without controversy from the perspective of the Western news outlets and even some, Baluchi nationalists within Pakistan. But I assume the largest, the big chunk of Pakistani society are really seeing the merits of projects like CPEC. How do you hope APEC can do for countries like Pakistan?
Yes, definitely. Now, when it comes to Belt and Road Initiative and vision of working together for the betterment, for the better future of President Xi, it is CPEC is the practical demonstration of President Xi's version of betterment and better future working together. And CPEC is an integral part of Pakistan's development. So, as you told that there are some elements which are propagating some negativities, some negative agenda against China-Pakistan economic corridor, but it is playing a vital role. It has already completed a lot of projects, which includes the Gwadar dry port, the seaport, and the special economic zones, and different roads have been already constructed, and they are providing better connectivity to the people of Pakistan. So most of the people who are actually experiencing the better connectivity, the sweet fruits of CPEC, they know the importance of this trade cooperation between China and Pakistan. And definitely when it comes to Asia-Pacific economic cooperation, all the countries, they are the Asian countries, and China is actually sharing the expertise when it comes to economy, when it comes to the poverty elimination, and all the economic experiences which China has gained in the recent past. And when it comes to the economy, all the countries, they are having these kind of platforms to help each other. And when it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan has already joined these initiatives, and people in my country, they have witnessed that this cooperation in the form of a CPEC, this is going to be very important, and I think the key decisive factor in the economy and infrastructure development of Pakistan.
For sure, for sure. It's very promising, although there have been a whole lot of challenges as well. Fangfang, Chinese diplomacy is in full swing. We've seen the Chinese president having sideline meetings, attending the summits in Indonesia and in APEC. What is the significance of the Chinese president's visits?
You know, even before the G20 summit started, people were talking about how President Xi was finally going to have a face-to-face meeting with President Biden. And then the media talked about this meeting with French president. It will probably, I think, the same for APEC. This indicates people have recognized China's importance. Also, we have to remember, in September, President Xi visited 2 Central Asian countries and attended the ASEAN Summit in Samarkand. That was his first trip abroad since the epidemic outbreak. From Central Asia to Southeastern Asia in 1 year, our leaders' footprints have shown how China cherishes its neighbors and partners. I think that's also echoed Mr. Saeed's remarks.
You know, Wang Cong, China has emerged as a leader for global development. It is a de facto leader for global development if you look at its contribution to peacekeeping, to public health, to security, vaccination of the world, especially the developing countries. How do you look at China's activism during the COVID-19 pandemic and this role for global public health, among other things?
Well, that kind of leads to where we are today, right? And where we are today is that the rise of China in terms of leadership, especially in the fields of development and peace. And I think that is very, very palpable here in Bali on the G20 sidelines of the sidelines meetings, all of the bilateral meetings. I mean, those are including our close partners and some of the Western countries with which there have been some tensions. So I think I can feel that the focus, the attention that given to China and given specifically to President Xi's activities, speeches, and there are a lot of talks about President Xi's meetings here, and most of them, if you go back to read the readouts, focus on peace and development, and that is exactly what China's vision for diplomacy, major country diplomacy. We're not talking about dominance here. We're not talking about interfering in other countries' internal affairs. China's vision is a peaceful, respectful, and responsible leadership global leadership, and that is winning hearts and minds around the world. And over the past 3 years, when the world faces most difficult time, I think China played a huge role in terms of economic recovery, in terms of efforts against the COVID pandemic. So I think a lot of the countries, both in Asia Pacific and from around the world, both Western advanced countries and developing and the least developing countries are increasingly looking towards China for leadership. And in that, they're seeking for mutual respect and mutually beneficial win-win cooperation.
Yeah, that really leads to my next question about how China is covered, how China is perceived from the eyes of journalists. Hoda, let me turn to you. We know there has been a whole wide spectrum when it comes to the coverage of China, from very critical coverage that is resorting to sensationalism to more nuanced and balanced views about what China is all about these days. How are you, as a reporter from Egypt, cover Chinese politics and society, considering what's happening here, the National Congress of the CPC, among other things?
Yes, I wanted to say that the third visit for me in China, every visit I note that China will change a more big progress in every different fields, not only economic, in technology, in everything. We wrote many articles about many fields. We visit many provinces in China and wrote about it. And the most important thing for me was how China combat the poverty, because we are, as a developing country, interested in Chinese experience in this field. It was a miracle for us how this country, with this big population, to solve this big problem when the world, our world, face this problem. And I can't see any country solve this problem such as China. I wrote about the technology in China. China now invent many technologies, and about also political events we attend, like CBC. We were a part of this event, and we very happy to participate and to hear what the President Xi speak about the Communist Party achievement during the 10 years. Is very it was great opportunity for us as journalists from many countries.
Yeah, Aamir from Pakistan, how have you reported and covered the 20th National Congress of the CPC and the Chinese politics to your viewers and readers?
I would like to answer a question which you have asked to Hoda as well, about my experience before coming to China, what I was learning, what I was thinking, and what was the propaganda and being propagated on different media platforms. So when I was coming to China, before coming to China, there was, in the recent 2 or 3 years, there are some COVID restrictions over here because of the pandemic, and all around, all over the social media, there were some negative news about China because the COVID SOPs and all the restrictions which I have. After coming to China, I have experienced all those SOPs by myself. Okay, so I had some different kind of feelings before coming to China. But when I came over here, I have experienced and I have seen all the involvement over here by myself. Before the CPC 20th CPC National Congress, I came here in Beijing, and I have experienced and I have learned about the dynamic zero COVID policy of China. And I have learned about all the reasons and all the actual points behind dynamic COVID policy of China. And the reasons over here, which I have learned and I have experienced, is the biggest population. And the vision of Chinese lawmakers, Chinese government is to save the people of China from the infections and to control. People are I have learned after coming over here that this country is for the people, and people are very important
Right.
for the government. So they have this COVID dynamic policy, and coming towards the development, coming towards all the infrastructure, I have now got the first-hand experience. So I can say that I have cleared a lot of the questions which were in my mind. And about 20th National CPC Congress, it was a lifetime experience for me, and I'm going to remember it till my life. So I felt very important when I entered to the great hall and on the opening session of 20th National CPC Congress, and I felt like I was one of those important persons who were witnessing that historic day. So it was a continuous learning during all the CPC Congress, and President Xi presented the report about last 5 years. I was really impressed about all those points which were achieved during past 5 years, especially when I came to know about the poverty elimination, when I came to know about the economic development and per capita income, GDP, all the facts. And parallel to this, we visited different provinces, as Hoda told. We visited different places in China, and all the words which were being said by President Xi during his report at 20th CPC National Congress, they were actually we had already experienced those developments. So all those days which we witnessed, which we observed, and all the press conferences presented by different representatives of the provinces, they were very impressive for me. Every representative of the province, they were coming to present their vision. They were coming with a report that what they have done in past 5 years and what they are going to do in the next 5 years. And they were telling about all the qualities and specialities of their provinces. So this is the main point which has impressed me a lot.
I'm so glad you're liking it, and hopefully you'll take all these memories back to Pakistan one day. Thank you so much. Wang Cong, thank you, bro, as always. Good trips to Thailand. And Aamir, thank you. My friend Hoda, thank you for joining us at this hour. And Fangfang,
yes, thank you.
Thank you. Come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That will do it for this edition of The Hub on CGTN. I'm Wang Guan in Beijing. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you again soon. And our news coverage continues on CGTN.